Oh, where are you now? We've already arrived at the hotel.
I was filled with anger at my mother-in-law's irritating words. Please stop it. Did you invite me with that intention from the beginning?
Don't say such things. I didn't realize you weren't here.
That's not true.
It's too late to come and pick you up now. Why don't you camp out there alone?
That's hilarious. Do it.
I could hear my sister-in-law's voice over the phone. My father-in-law and Cyrus are probably not nearby now.
It's a family trip, so don't bother us.
You're a nuisance when you're around.
They shouldn't have invited me in the first place if they were going to do something like this. My name is Valentina, and I'm a 26-year-old housewife. My husband, Cyrus, was originally my senior at work. I was attracted to his reliable and capable work, and we started dating, which led to marriage after a few years. Soon after we got married, we decided to live with my in-laws. I really wanted to live with just the two of us, but my mother-in-law suggested it.
Since you're coming to be my daughter-in-law, it's only natural that you live with us.
That's not relevant nowadays, is it? Both of you are still healthy.
Cyrus said that, but I couldn't refuse too strongly. I wanted to get along with my in-laws, and I didn't want to argue with my mother-in-law right after getting married. I decided to do as my mother-in-law said and nodded. I'm okay with living together.
Really? Well, if Valentina says so, I'm okay with it too.
Okay then. Nice to meet you, Valentina.
But looking back now, I should have refused with Cyrus at that time. Because since we started living together, I've been bullied by my mother-in-law almost every day.
Valentina, have you taken out the garbage?
No, not yet.
Why haven't you done it yet?
I was planning to do it all at once after finishing the morning cleaning.
Don't do whatever you want. You have to follow our way of doing things.
I thought I was acting efficiently to help in any way I could, but to my mother-in-law, I must have looked like an uncooperative daughter-in-law. I'm sorry. I'll take out the garbage right away.
This isn't your home. You have to follow our way of doing things.
Okay.
After taking out the garbage, you also need to clean the toilet, the bath, and do the dishes. You're a housewife, but you can't even do housework properly?
My mother-in-law complained like that, pushed all the housework onto me, and started watching a movie she had recorded while lying down on the sofa. I thought we would share the housework, but did my mother-in-law intend to push everything onto me from the beginning when she suggested we live together? I had no choice but to put up with it and do the housework every day, even though I thought it was unfair. And there's another person who harasses me. It's my sister-in-law, Cecilia. Cecilia graduated from college but hasn't found a job and has been living at home, playing every day. My mother-in-law seems to be very fond of her and spoils her. I didn't want to interfere with her situation, so I didn't mind at first. However, Cecilia began to treat me like a servant.
I want you to drive me to the station because I'm going to hang out with my friends today.
What? Now? Even though it was obvious that I was busy with housework, she asked me to do this. The station wasn't far away, so I could go there alone if I wanted to walk, but Cecilia always asked me to drive her. Can I do it after I finish hanging the laundry?
That would make me late for my appointment.
Cecilia's requests were always sudden. Okay. It would be helpful if you could tell me a little earlier next time. I also have my own schedule. I smiled, suppressing my anger at Cecilia's attitude of asking for things without considering my situation.
It was decided suddenly.
Cecilia answered without looking at me, staring at her phone. Is this how you ask someone for a favor? She's already an adult. I couldn't suppress my irritation with Cecilia, but I didn't show it on my face and took her to the station.
I'll probably be back around 10 p.m.
Cecilia only told me her return schedule without thanking me for the ride. She speaks as if it's natural for me to pick her up, but couldn't she at least show some gratitude? Does she still think I'm some kind of servant or something? But since I'm not related by blood, I can't get angry with Cecilia. If I make even a slight sarcastic remark, she'll probably report it to my mother-in-law. And then I'll get a lecture from her. That would be a hassle. I don't want to cause any trouble. So I had no choice but to put up with Cecilia's selfishness and listen to her. When I returned home with a sense of frustration, my mother-in-law yelled at me.
Hey! The laundry isn't done yet. Hang it up right away after you're done washing it. Otherwise, it'll smell.
I asked Cecilia if it was okay to do it after the laundry was finished, considering that she was going to be late. But I had to interrupt my work and take her because she said she would be late. Nevertheless, my mother-in-law was angry with me. It's really unreasonable.
Why can't you do housework in order?
I have to take Cecilia to the station.
No excuses. Do the laundry again.
In the end, I had to start the laundry all over again. I sighed and went back to doing housework. During the day, I'm being bossed around by my mother-in-law and Cecilia every day. But when Cyrus and my father-in-law come home from work, my mother-in-law's attitude changes completely.
Valentina, thank you for your hard work today. Thanks to you, the housework went smoothly.
She says such things with a smile. At first, I was confused by this change in attitude, but now I'm used to it.
How was dinner today? I made it while Valentina was teaching me. Is it delicious?
Yeah, it's delicious. The flavor is just right.
Really? I'm glad.
She probably doesn't want Cyrus and my father-in-law to think that she's pushing all the housework onto me. She speaks about cooking as if she made it herself. And in front of the two of them, my mother-in-law and Cecilia pretend to get along with me. Because of this, Cyrus and my father-in-law don't realize that I'm being bullied by the two of them. I've thought about consulting him about my mother-in-law and Cecilia several times, but I've always held back. Cyrus was close to both my mother-in-law and Cecilia, and I couldn't bring myself to say anything that would ruin the family relationship. But unfortunately, my faint hope that things would get better if I just put up with it never came true, and the harassment only escalated.
I wonder why Cyrus chose Valentina.
Cyrus has never had a good eye for people, so maybe he chose the wrong person?
Poor thing.
Recently, I've heard such backbiting comments that I can hear. As usual, the attitudes of the two have not changed, and Cecilia treats me like a servant and makes selfish demands. My mother-in-law pushes housework onto me and has recently started going shopping. Nevertheless, I didn't complain and managed to get by somehow. Then one day, Cecilia suddenly started saying that she wanted to go on a family trip.
How about going on a trip? We haven't gone as a family recently, have we?
That's a good idea. I was just thinking about wanting to go too.
The two of them invited my father-in-law and Cyrus with shining eyes.
A trip. Huh?
Right? It's good, isn't it? Even Dad must be tired. Go on a trip and relax.
That's right. Should we go on our next day off?
Let's do it.
It's something that Cecilia and mother-in-law have suggested anyway. I'll probably be left behind because I'm not just a family member. I thought that and didn't participate in the conversation. Then Cecilia asked me,
Valentina, you're going too, right?
Huh? Me too?
Of course. We're family.
Valentina should go too. She always works hard at housework.
I have a bad feeling about the two of them.
That's right. Valentina, don't hesitate and come with us.
In the end, I decided to participate in the trip because Cyrus said so, even though the two of them suggested it. On the day of the trip, Cyrus was driving, so I sat in the passenger seat. Since my father-in-law and Cyrus were also there today, I was relieved that they wouldn't blatantly harass me. I was so relieved. However, the incident occurred when we stopped at a rest area. On the way to the hotel on the highway, Cecilia started saying that she wanted to go to the restroom.
Huh? But we'll arrive at the hotel soon. It's just around the corner if we get off at the next exit.
Just stop at the rest area.
Okay.
Since she couldn't hold it, we had no choice but to stop at the rest area. Cecilia, my father-in-law, and Cyrus went to the restroom together, and my mother-in-law got off to throw away empty plastic bottles and trash. I didn't particularly want to go to the restroom, so I decided to wait in the car. When my mother-in-law finished throwing away the trash and returned to the car.
You should go to the restroom too.
No, I'm fine.
There's no more restroom ahead.
But Cyrus said we're already arriving at the hotel. Despite my refusal, my mother-in-law is trying to make me go to the restroom.
That's true, but it'll take a little longer. It would be a nuisance if you said you wanted to go to the restroom during that time, so go now.
I understand. My mother-in-law was so persistent that I reluctantly went to the restroom. I hurried to move so as not to keep everyone waiting. When I returned to the car as soon as possible, the car was no longer parked where it had been parked until a while ago. What's going on? I was stunned for a while, but I finally understood. I was left behind in a rest area with nothing. I panicked and tried to contact Cyrus, but the phone didn't connect. He probably didn't notice because he was driving. I called my mother-in-law, but she didn't answer the phone either. A small rest area with nothing but a restroom. I was full of miserable feelings after being left behind in such a place. If I was going to be harassed like this, I should have refused the trip from the beginning. Then, 30 minutes later, my mother-in-law called me.
Oh, where are you now? We've already arrived at the hotel.
I was filled with anger at my mother-in-law's irritating words. Please stop it. Did you invite me with that intention from the beginning?
Don't say such things. I didn't realize you weren't here.
That's not true.
It's too late to come and pick you up now. Why don't you camp out there alone?
That's hilarious. Do it.
I could hear Cecilia's voice over the phone. My father-in-law and Cyrus are probably not nearby now.
It's a family trip, so don't bother us.
You're a nuisance when you're around.
They shouldn't have invited me in the first place if they were going to do something like this.
Don't come here. Catch a taxi or something and go back to your parents' house.
Even if you say taxi, this is a highway, you know?
Then why don't you hitchhike? Well, no one comes to such a deserted rest area anyway.
That's why we won't call you anymore. We'll explain it to Cyrus and your father properly.
My mother-in-law unilaterally hung up the phone after saying that. What should I do now? When I was at a loss, a familiar car arrived. Huh? Cyrus?
Sorry.
The car was driven by Cyrus and my father-in-law. The two of them, who I thought had been skillfully manipulated by my mother-in-law, came to pick me up. Why did you come?
Actually, I knew.
They were harassing Valentina, and they were planning to leave Valentina behind today.
What do you mean? According to the story of my father-in-law and Cyrus, they had actually noticed that I was being bullied by them for some time. My father-in-law had even warned my mother-in-law to get along with me many times, but my mother-in-law stubbornly insisted that we were getting along well. In addition, since I didn't consult with anyone, they couldn't be sure if I was really being bullied. However, a few days ago, they happened to hear that my mother-in-law and Cecilia were planning to leave me behind, and finally became convinced.
So my father and I plan to punish my mother and Cecilia instead.
What kind of plan?
Leave the two of them behind at the hotel and let's go home.
What? I was surprised because I never thought that they would think of such a thing.
So we pretended to go along with my mother's act and left Valentina behind, even though I'm sorry for Valentina.
But even so, isn't it strange that my mother said that Valentina met her friend and decided to go on a trip with her?
Yes.
I see.
They seem to think that we will pay for everything, and they didn't even bring their wallets. They'll be in trouble when we leave.
Is it okay to do that? I was happy that they said that, but if they took my side, the relationship between the family would be completely ruined. However, Cyrus laughed nonchalantly despite my anxiety.
It's okay. My father and I were dissatisfied with those two from the beginning. And I won't forgive them for hurting Valentina.
I cried out of happiness and relief.
I'm sorry until now. I couldn't help you even though you were suffering.
But I know Valentina was the one who had been cooking until now. She said she made it herself, but her cooking isn't that good, so I noticed.
My father-in-law also said that and smiled kindly. So we left my mother-in-law and Cecilia behind at the hotel and went back to my in-laws' house. By the time we got home, my mother-in-law finally called Cyrus. But Cyrus ignored it. Then my father-in-law received a call, but he ignored it too. Then I received a call.
Where are you now?
My mother-in-law shouted. I'm already home, I replied.
How did you get home?
Cyrus and my father-in-law came to pick me up, so I was able to come home.
What? How did that happen?
My mother-in-law started shouting, so I handed the phone over to Cyrus.
I know that you've been harassing Valentina until now. And I knew you were planning to leave Valentina behind at the rest stop this time.
What?
Also, I know that you've been tricking money out of me and my father for a while.
No, that's not true.
My mother-in-law was flustered on the phone. Apparently, the two of them had been asking for money from my father-in-law and Cyrus by making up various reasons. And they had been buying whatever they wanted with that money.
Cyrus and I have had enough. Neither of you should ever come back.
Finally, my father-in-law said that and hung up the phone. After that, the two of them called us many times, but we didn't answer. The two of them who couldn't return from the hotel left secretly in the middle of the night and returned home by taxi. Since they didn't have any money, Cyrus and my father-in-law had to pay for the hotel and taxi. In exchange, they decided to kick the two of them out of the house. The two of them cried to me until the end, but of course I couldn't forgive them. I'll never forget what you did to me, and I won't forgive you.
What are we supposed to do now? We don't even have jobs.
That's why you should work. Is Cecilia planning to stay unemployed forever? We sent her to college, and she's still not working.
Well, That's...
From now on, live on your own strength.
After that, my father-in-law divorced my mother-in-law and cut off ties with Cecilia. Now they live in a shabby apartment, working part-time jobs and living a frugal life. On the other hand, I live a relaxed life with my father-in-law and Cyrus. I enjoy doing housework without being harassed. I am truly grateful to my father-in-law and Cyrus for choosing me over my mother-in-law and Cecilia.
How was today's story? Please subscribe to the channel. See you in the next video.